a tighter profile, a snatched jawline, that defined look when people look at your profile. We all want a tighter, more youthful face, don't we? Without having to undergo the knife. 1 year ago, I created a video about how to have a more snatched jawline. I made a major mistake when it came to one of the techniques I discussed in that video, and it resulted in me having to have oral surgery. There's so many downsides to this. I just wish I had never got myself in the habit, because I'm still trying to break myself daily. I'll catch myself doing it. So I am praying that the algorithm will put this in front of the right people so I can set the record straight and hopefully help somebody out there avoid the same nightmare that I experienced. Hey, my name is Chalene Johnson, and thank you so much for joining me here today on The Chalene Show. I talk about health, I talk about things that have helped me, and I love to talk about things that are easy things you can do, habits you can develop that help us to live longer, to look better, to be our best, to be vibrant and powerful and all the things. And as we age, all of us want to have like a tighter neckline, right? A tighter jawline. And trust me, I'm not opposed to going under the knife for these things, but if we can improve our appearance naturally just by creating some healthy habits, why wouldn't we want to do that? So I created this video 2 years ago where I talked about mouth taping. And in that video, I talked about how the reason why I discovered mouth taping is kind of by accident. I was having so many problems with my dental health. Like every single time I went to the dentist, there was a new cavity or a new root canal I needed. I was like, what is going on? And the reason why it was so concerning to me is because I was a freak about my dental hygiene. Like I floss several times per day. I use the water pick. I brush my teeth constantly, like all the things. So it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why do I keep having all these cavities? Until my doctor suggested that it might be because I was, past tense, a mouth breather. So, and I won't go over all of that. You can watch that previous video. I will link to it below where I talked about taping my mouth for 30 days, which developed the habit. And now I rarely mouth tape, but I'm still a big believer in mouth taping especially until you can develop that habit. Okay, so then I started also doing some other things that I believe naturally improved my jawline and my overall appearance. And I discussed those in that video I did 1 year ago. So before I go over all of those things, I want to get right to the most important message, I think, for this episode, and that is about mewing. And the reason why I mentioned that video I did 2 years ago about mouth taping is because under that video, there were so many people commenting, because I talked about how once I trained myself to keep my mouth closed. I know that sounds really funny. You're like, you never have your mouth closed. You're always yapping. But once I really did train myself to keep my mouth closed during exercise, while I was sleeping, and just when I wasn't talking, mouth closed, okay? And I talked about how I would suck the saliva out of my mouth and put my tongue in the roof of my mouth. And so many people commented under that video, what you're doing is mewing. And I'm like, what is mewing? Most everyone knows what mewing is today because it's basically become a meme. Like Gen Z uses that term to describe anyone who's posing really hard or trying to look good in a photo. They call it, they're mewing. Well, at the time, I had no idea what it was. I did the I did the lookups to figure out what is mewing that everyone says that I'm doing, and am I doing it correctly? So I watched a bunch of mewing videos, and I started practicing it. Now, just to generally tell you what I did wrong, because I don't want to tell you how to mew, because I obviously don't know how to mew. But what I did wrong is you're supposed to have your teeth lightly touch. Okay, so go ahead and as you're listening to me, bring your teeth together. Just barely let them touch. And now put your tongue in the roof of your mouth. And now suction out all the saliva from your mouth, okay? And it just naturally gives you a tighter jawline, and it should put your jaw into the right position. Now I'm going to say should because there's a lot of debate about whether this technique really is effective for adults.
Find the N spot. Say the letter N or ting or It's just behind the upper front teeth. That's where the tip should be.
I hope at this point you realize that a lot of times I will come back and do an updated video and I will tell you like what happened next, or if I make a mistake, I'm going to apologize and set the record straight, which is all the more reason why you need to make sure you've subscribed. Okay, don't just subscribe, hit that little notification bell. That way you'll know if I've come back and said, okay, wait, we're going to have to do this a little differently. Because listen, I am not too proud to say I messed up, I made a mistake, I know better. Now that I know better, now that I've learned better, I'm going to do better, and I'm going to tell you how to do better too. So make sure you're subscribed. And while we're at it, you should probably hit that thumbs up. I think we can agree it is effective at giving you the appearance of a tighter jawline for the moment while you're sucking in, and, you know, it lifts up the lower part of your face a little bit. So I think we can all agree, like temporarily, that would look good for a photo, but there's a lot of debate on whether it actually can change the shape of an adult person's face. Don't know. All I know is that when I would do that, I let my teeth separate. Okay, so go ahead and do it again. Teeth together, tongue in the roof of your mouth, suck out all the saliva. Now I want you to take your teeth and separate them about a half an inch or even an inch. And you're still sucking in, right? Okay, so that gives you the appearance of like kind of a defined jawline, but more so, it kind of looks like you've got better cheekbones. It's like you're sucking in your cheeks. It's like you're giving yourself the appearance of having buccal fat removal, which thank God that trend's almost over. So it just makes your face look a little more defined, less puffy. Well, I got in the habit of mewing the wrong way with my teeth separated, which meant I was always sucking my cheeks in. And what that turned into is me doing it unknowingly while I was sleeping. So if you do that again real quick while I'm talking, just suck your cheeks in and keep your mouth closed, and you're going to notice that the tissue from your cheeks comes in and separates your teeth. And what would happen at night is then I would bite down with my teeth or suck in and create this like almost like ridge on both sides of my cheek. Then it started like kind of creating like this almost like a callus on the inside of my mouth. And I could not stop myself from doing it. As much as I tried and tried to do it the right way and keep my teeth together, I kept like letting my teeth separate. And it eventually meant that I was biting my cheek constantly. And there's nothing more, other than maybe stubbing your toe in the middle of the night, there is nothing more frustrating than when you bite your cheek so hard that like blood is coming out and you're just about to enjoy this like delicious salad, and you're sitting amongst a group of lovely people and you really want to just scream out the F word at the top of your lungs. And I was doing this like constantly. So that resulted in it like never healing. And then once you have a sore in your mouth, your tongue is constantly going to it, right? So it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So eventually I went to a cosmetic surgeon and he removed it for me. And it was a really super minor thing. He didn't have to numb it or anything. He just like whoop, sliced it right off. But because I didn't break the habit, it came back with a vengeance. So now I go to my doctor and said, like, is this because of my habit, or am I grinding my teeth at night? Is there a misalignment with my teeth? Like, what is going on? And he says he believes, it's hard to know, but like, let's get you a dental guard. And then let's also, so first I did the dental guard. So first I did the dental guard to see if it would go away. No, it did not, because I was still able at night to suck my cheeks in and create that tension between the dental guard and my bottom teeth. And I still had that weird growth. I won't even show it to you because I'm sure then if you're watching the video, it would get banned. I had to go schedule an oral surgery. This cost me thousands of dollars because it is not covered by insurance. When you're doing dumb things like just regularly biting your cheek over and over and over again, even if you have dental insurance, which is such a joke, it's just not covered. And it was really painful. And I had to have stitches on the inside of my mouth. And like, who really even wants to go through all this hassle? But yeah, that's what ultimately I had to do. I had to have it physically removed again. Of course, I sent it off to biopsy to make sure there was no growth. I knew there was no growth. I knew it was the result of my bad mewing habits. And so now I have consciously had to retrain myself not to mew all day long, all night long. I still sleep with my mouth closed. I still sleep on my back. I still do all the things that I talked about in that previous video, which I'm going to share with you, just a brief overview of those things, which I think really help the jawline in general. But if I'm going to mew, it's just going to be for a photo, as the Gen Zs would say. I'm just going to do it like real for 1 second while I'm taking a photo, but I try not to do it anymore throughout the day, because obviously it ended up costing me a ton of money and being very painful and very uncomfortable and very unsightly. Like, there's so many downsides to this. I just wish I had never got myself in the habit, because I'm still trying to break myself daily. I'll catch myself doing it. Now let me give you an update and tell you what things I still continue to do to this day, and I think they make a really big difference. Plus, one new one that I'm blown away at what it just, like, not just my face, but like so many people's faces. And you're going to love this, because this one isn't going to cost you a dime. And in fact, it might save you tons of money and maybe even help you to live a lot longer. Okay, so stay tuned. That will be my last one. But here's what I'm still doing. I still sleep with my mouth closed. I still occasionally mouth tape when I feel like I've fallen out of the habit. And the way that I know if I've fallen out of the habit, if I wake up with a dry mouth, or if there's drool on my pillow, I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping with my mouth open again. So occasionally I will mouth tape. I use a medical tape for this. I don't think you need to buy the expensive tapes that they sell on, TikTok and everywhere else, unless that makes you feel more comfortable to have like a little hole in the center. But I discussed that all in my previous mouth taping video, which I will link below. Please keep in mind, it was a couple years ago. So my face has changed. Let me show you how much my face has changed. And in between these two videos, I'm going to just, because I already created these, like these are side by side. It's not photos, because people are like, oh, sure, it's lighting, it's a filter, blah, blah, blah. No, these are videos. Here's videos of the way my face has changed before and after. We just were not meant to be breathing through our mouths. This little apparatus on our face, our nose, is what we were designed to use for breathing. And what a difference it does make. I also continue to sleep on my back. Now, I got so many people, so many companies sending me special pillows after my video I did about sleep position. So if you're someone you can't get yourself to sleep on your back, I did a whole video showing you the different ways to train yourself to sleep on your back. And I know they make tons of special pillows and that they work for some people. It doesn't work for me, because I don't sleep the whole night on my back. God bless you if you can. I hope that I'm getting most of my sleep during the night on my back, but I do sometimes sleep on my sides, or I find myself in the morning, I wake up and I'm on my side. And so those special pillows, thank you I've got so many of them and I've donated them. They're great. But for me, I just like a MyPillow, because I can shape it into, if I'm sleeping on my back, I can make it work for that. If I'm please check out the episode I did on sleep positions, because I do talk all about pillows there. In addition to that, I still do facial lymphatic massage. I don't use a gua sha stone. I use my knuckles. That is also covered in my last episode. But in case you didn't catch that or you need a reminder, I just take my knuckles and I slide down my nose, under the pads of my cheeks, and then to my earlobes. I do that like 10 times. And then I go from my chin back to my ears and down my neck. Chin back to my ears and down my neck. And I've learned to do it much more demure, much more delicate, because everyone commented the first time I showed it, like, you're doing that too aggressively. I'm like, I am aggressive. What do you want? I know people are like, you're supposed to be so delicate with your skin. It's too late. I'm not delicate with anything. Anyways, that's what I do. And I use castor oil. Now that's an update. Castor oil is shown to be anti-inflammatory. There are studies to back that up. There are lots of claims about castor oil, which, are anecdotal. But for me, I personally love using very small amount. You need like just the smallest amount, because it goes a long way and it's very emulsive. So I will use that on my face. I will sometimes use just my normal facial serums. And I just kind of use this, instead of like rubbing my lotions in or my serums in, I do that lymphatic technique. And that has really helped. It helps to drain my face on the days of my face I wake up and it just looks super puffy. But probably the biggest change of all has come from the fact that I stopped drinking. And I was looking at people's before and afters of their faces and I wasn't a heavy drinker. And I don't know how you label yourself, but really just any alcohol whatsoever, I would notice that the next day my face would be puffier. And alcohol is inflammatory, period, end of subject. So anything you can do to remove inflammation is going to help your face look more defined. If you are sensitive to certain foods, and they don't even have to be junky, foods that are low processed foods, sometimes you can have a food sensitivity to something that's healthy. Like, so for example, one of my food sensitivities is quinoa. When I have quinoa, I just get a reaction. I get inflamed. For me, also, certain melons make me appear more inflamed. The next day I'll wake up and I'll be more inflamed. So I'm very careful. If I really want a chiseled jawline, no alcohol, and I will minimize any foods that are processed or foods that I'm sensitive to them. But can I show you some of these before and afters of people's faces? And these are some that I found on the internet, but check out my friend Claire. So Claire gave me permission to show you this. And this is not just the photo. Okay, here, check out this video of her talking before and after. This is just after 30 days of cutting out wine. And I mean, it's after 30 days, like crazy how much it has changed her face. So if that's something that you're considering, and I know nobody wants to hear that, because I was one of those people who's like, I don't want to hear don't say anything negative about my drink. I enjoy my champagne. It can't be that bad. Like, don't take away all my joy, right? So if that's you, if you're someone who's like, yeah, I definitely don't want you to take away my joy, I want you to check out the video I did where I did a deep dive into alcohol, specifically for people like myself who are like, I'm doing everything healthy. Can you just give me some suggestions of like, what do I need to know? Is there a way to have a certain amount that isn't unhealthy? Like, what's the deal with cancer and all these things we keep hearing? And what about people in the blue zone? And like, what's the deal with alcohol? So if you want it from someone who, when I tell you I love champagne, to this day, I still love champagne, but I did my research and I'd love to share that episode with you. So that will also be linked below. But yeah, so that's the update. That is why I am no longer mewing. I am not saying you shouldn't mew. I'm not saying you shouldn't use firm gum, all the things that people talk about for creating a tighter jawline. I'm just saying that like, there's so many videos teaching you how to mew, and I kept watching all of them. And I'm like, I just don't know if I'm doing this right. And clearly I wasn't. And I'm like, should we have to, I don't know if it really makes sense that we have to watch that many instructional videos on how to just like walk around and live. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was literally, how do I just rest my face? But you can't rest your face. You have to actively be doing something with your face when it comes to mewing. So I personally, today, I can say I am not a fan of mewing all day long. Anyways, the other thing that you can do to have a tighter jawline is cosmetic surgery. And I'm not opposed to that. But I do think we want to avoid doing threads. And I do think, ladies, we want to really carefully consider doing fillers. I see a lot of young girls doing fillers in their jawlines, and they look so good right after they're done. But take a look at some of the videos of, puffer face, filler face is what they're calling it, or pillow face, which is when, we know now that fillers migrate and they also collect water. I mean, they hold water, they attract water. So that's going to make you look puffier in the long run.
So what you're looking at here is an MRI image of a 33-year-old patient who had over 12 cc, which is 12 syringes of hyaluronic acid filler injected to her face over the past 6 years. Now, the area that is green is the hyaluronic acid filler. What's interesting here is that when we did volumetric analysis, that means when we measured the amount of filler, the amount of volume that was there, it ended up being close to 28 cc, which is more than twice the amount of filler that was injected.
Of course, you can have fillers dissolved, but like, do we really want to be doing all these things? Like, think about it. When you want your jawline to look better, when you're standing in the mirror and you're trying to mess with your appearance, fellas, I don't think you guys do that, but ladies, we do this. We never go like this. We never go like, what would my face look like fuller? We never do that. We go like this, right? We pull it back or we pull it up. So it is kind of weird that we want all these fillers, but you do lose fat in those areas. I get it, but I think there's a stage like for me, I know for a fact I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the lift. I'm going to do the eyebrow thing, My neck isn't so bad, but I mean, if you're going to do your face, you might as well do your neck at the same time, right? And I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I do know this. I'm being very cognizant of not putting a lot of fillers in my face because I don't want to have to go through that like whole dissolving process. And I don't want to look puffy before that. Do I have some on my lips? I sure do. But not much, because like there's not much you can do for these thin lips. Anyways, I'm just trying to keep it real with you. Please make sure that you leave a comment if you listened to or watched my first episode and you've been mewing, and maybe it's been great for you. I just want to make sure that a lot of those people get to see this because, yeah, if there's one thing I could take out of that whole video, it would be all the time and attention I gave to mewing. But mainly because I didn't do it the right way. Mainly because I had a bad result. Maybe you've had a great result. And if you did, tell us about it. Hey, if I haven't told you recently, I am so grateful that you've spent even a minute watching this video. Like, you've got so many things you could be doing with your time, listening to it, watching it, whatever. I'm so grateful you've spent any time with me today whatsoever. I love you. I mean it. And I'll talk to you soon. We're back. Isn't that pretty? You should follow me on TikTok if you want all of my mocktail recipes. Whoopsie. This one is so good. Okay. And I just realized I didn't put any color on my cheeks. This is a multi-stick by Boyish. This is not sponsored, but I'll pin it below too. It's a multi-stick, which means you can also use it on your lips. Oh, nice.